Well, hello there. Welcome to episode 49. Tomorrow's the big 50 show. Think we're planning on having fireworks or something. I don't know, but maybe it'll be a big show. Maybe not. You'll have to tune in to find out. Danny Thompson here with more escapades and sadness from the Biden regime as we detail the daily goings-on of the regime of the thief in chief. Yeah, the thief in chief. Yeah, the thief in chief. All right, that's enough. Go away. Yeah, go on. Head outside. It's a good day. As we bring to you the poster child of the Biden regime, Dr. Rachel Levine, who shows you as usual just how mixed up they are. They think he is a she. But we have this to show you. Is it twins separated at birth? Oh, they do look identical, don't they? No, that's Dr. Richard Levine, right next to a snapshot of his other self, Dr. Rachel Levine. Identical twins, except men and women can't be identical twins, can they? But this man and woman can be, and they weren't even separated at birth. Here they are, Dr. Rachel and Dr. Richard. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you just, sometimes it's just too bizarre to figure out. Yeah, that's all the roar this so-called woman has, a little kitty cat. Meow. Oh, we're not making fun. It's just this person isn't even nice. If he wants to be a she, that's fine. But it's pushing it on minors and doing all kinds of things that aren't right. So, yeah, we're going to treat them like that. It's not that they're just mixed up. See, these people aren't happy with just themselves being mixed up and messed up. They want the world to join them so they can feel normal. South Dakota governor bans transgender girls from sports teams by executive order because her and the legislature could not come to terms. And so because she didn't want the ban to extend to colleges, so I don't know what's going to happen. But at least high school kids won't have to worry about it. And did we have anything else? Yes, I guess we did. This is part of the Equality Act problem that is still in Congress. Dozens of LGBTQ students at Christian colleges sue the U.S. Education Department, hoping to pressure the Equality Act to allow them to go to Christian schools. What now? Why? What is the purpose in this? See, as a Christian, I would know not to sign up at an LGBTQ plus school because we would not be compatible. But no, see, again, they're never satisfied with saying, this is my life, I want to live it. And that's what they always say. No, we just want to live our lives. No, they want everybody to live their lives. They want everybody to approve. They want everybody to have to not just accept them, because I think we accept them. I accept Dr. Rachel Levine. If that's the way you want to be, fine. Stop pushing it on everybody. Stop demanding. We have a place. You don't have a place everywhere. All right? I know that sounds cruel, doesn't it? Oh, no, they should be able to go everywhere. Okay, they can go everywhere except where they don't belong, and they shouldn't be able to force themselves on family. We went over this at length yesterday as a young male that is really a female talked about Alabama's law to no longer allow children to be transitioned. And, we just live in a really sad society. And it's not like that all over the world, just in Western countries where we feel bad about living a sane life, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes it's beyond understanding. But they're not just happy being them. They want everybody to be them. If you want to learn more, go to seculardems.org. Read Secular Democrats of America, their guidance for a non-constitutional world, a godless world, a godless society full of abortion on demand, any type phrase, in any type or in any phase of pregnancy. Look at the Equality Act, which isn't an equality act. Of course, this regime, they live in what? They live in equity. Equity. The dark winter. Oh, it didn't stop with winter. We would have liked it to, but it didn't. But here's some news you may or may not like. The office of Donald J. Trump. I love his seal there. Yeah. Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. President Donald J. Trump and Mrs. Melania Trump are pleased to announce the launch of 45office.com. That's office with a capital. The official website of the 45th President of the United States will allow individuals to submit correspondence, scheduling requests, and press inquiries for President and Mrs. Trump. President and Mrs. Trump are continually strengthened by the enduring spirit of the American people, and they look forward to staying in touch. So, go to 45office.com and tell them hello and tell them how much you appreciate them, miss them, and, just... Some people just didn't know a good thing till it was gone, huh? All right, we showed you this yesterday. White House lists Biden-Harris administration on official website. We had a question come up about that during the daily press briefing with Jen Psaki.
Is there anything to be read into sort of the rebranding of the Biden administration to the Biden and Harris administration?
Is it a rebranding?
Well, when you look on the website, it's just Biden-Harris, and that's not been necessarily the norm in the past. Is there any message being sent by that, or what's meant to be, what can be extrapolated from
I would take from it that Vice President Harris is an important partner. She's the first in the room, the last in the room on most occasions if she's in town and not traveling around the country. It's a reflection of the important role that she will play moving forward. Go ahead.
Not a lot of information there, and didn't Jen seem just a little defensive? I mean, why not just have this answer from Alice Cramden years and years ago?
Now, let me tell you something. There's an old saying, Ralph. Man works from sun to sun, but woman's work is never done.
Good gosh.
I mean, why not just take that answer? She's a hard worker. Her work's never done. She's always there. The president depends on her. He wanted to... No, see, there's something going on. There's always something going on. They're getting the American people ready for a transition. Where are we going to transition to? It'll be President Harris. Now, will she be the first Asian president, the first black female president, the first Asian? We don't know. But we do know this is strange. As the reporter said, not the norm. But nothing's normal in this regime. Not a thing. Because it's all built upon deception. It's all built upon lies. Lies, lies, and more lies. Anyway, here's an interesting thing from Jeff Nelson on Twitter. Fauci just told us they found a variant that evades the test. He wants you to know that you may be sick with an illness that has no symptoms and cannot be verified with a test to confirm you have it, which is why you still need to wear a mask. Maybe we should read that again. So, he wants you to know that you may be sick with an illness that has no symptoms and cannot be verified with a test to confirm that you have it, which is why you still need to wear a mask. As the tweeter tweets, stop and think about this. So now, you may have a variant of COVID that shows no symptoms, it doesn't show up on any test, so you should wear a mask. Everybody should wear a mask. Do you realize how long we'll be in masks? We will eventually, as I've said before, if you believe in evolution, we will eventually, the human species, if we don't destroy ourselves with climate change, will evolve to where we have masks. But because now they can say anything. Oh, you have it. There's no proof. We know you have it because there's no proof that you have it. Wear a mask. Between that and vaccine passports, GOP lawmakers warn against vaccine passports. Multiple lawmakers have come out against the idea of digital vaccine passports that would allow private businesses to require customers provide proof of vaccination. Oh, what could go wrong with that, we wonder, huh? President Biden's administration is reportedly working on a way to standardize, I will slow down some, a process for allowing Americans to prove their vaccination status. New York State has already rolled out their own version of vaccine credentials. So, as we reported yesterday, the GOP lawmakers are a little behind as usual. We reported yesterday that the government does not want to do this. Why? Because it will cause a problem with voter ID. Because if everyone can show up at an office somewhere to get a vaccine certificate, a vaccine passport, then they could show up at an office to get an ID, which nearly everybody in the country except for illegals basically has an ID. So they're going to leave it up to the private market. Now, does that sound like a Democrat regime to you? They never leave anything up to the private market. But they don't want to touch this. They don't want their fingerprints on it anywhere, in any way, shape, or form. I found this not surprising at all. School districts, we'll just get the slide, well, not me bigger, but the slide bigger. Very large here. School districts that back Trump are returning to in-person classes more quickly, the data shows. Here we have. All right, the red is remote learning, where your kid's in front of a computer. The yellow is hybrid, where it's a mixture. Some days you're on campus, some days you're at home on the computer. Green is in person. Of all districts, hybrid is leading the way. But of those districts that Trump carried in the election, in person is leading the way. Now, of those districts where Biden carried the election, hybrid is leading, and he is virtually in a tie with remote. I mean, he's pretty down of opened districts. So, in Trump land, 50% or more are open. In Biden's world, less than 20% are open to in-person teaching. And as we showed you yesterday, Oakland, their teachers saying they're not going back even if you vaccinate. And there is a little controversy today. Teachers in San Diego that haven't had in-person class learning all year, even though they are to finally open up this in April. They are teaching the immigrant unaccompanied minors at the San Diego Convention Center. They're showing up to teach them. That didn't scare them. And those, so hey. Just never know how it works. Never know. Now, this came out, has been a topic along the way, and it was asked again yesterday, which we'll show you the clip in just a moment. Now, tomorrow, ahead of schedule, why? Because of the border, which, for some reason, they have been able to shut down nearly all border questions in the press briefing. I don't understand it. Somehow they got to people and either they told them they're not going to answer them anymore or something. I'm trying to find out why. I haven't found out why. But they are starting to have some problems with this, but they're not real worried about it because they know it doesn't affect a lot of people. Because while there are several people in the country that make $400,000 or more a year, and there are even several families where the male, well, how do you say it? The male and the female, the husband and the wife. How about the spouse and the spouse? All right? The spouse and the spouse. That way, everybody's covered. You may be married to someone much like yourself. So the spouse and the spouse, if they each make $400,000, they're subject to a tax increase, but individuals who make $400,000 will not be. It's because during the campaign, the wannabe President Biden said that no individual making over $400,000 would pay anything higher than making under $400,000 would pay higher taxes. But that's individual. See, married couples, a different thing. Biden revenue plan includes marriage penalty, putting some couples at a significant disadvantage. Well, yeah. You know, if, say, your little brother makes the same amount as you do, $400,000, and he's single, but your wife, because you can make $250,000, she can make $250,000, or anything, you go over $400,000, you're going to get higher taxes. Now that's pretty steep. That might be reasons enough for a divorce. I don't know. We'll find out. Last week, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told Fox Business Blake Berman that the threshold would also be $400,000 for individual filers. Psaki gave the same answer when asked for clarification by a reporter on Monday. Individuals who earn a lesser amount could be affected, however, if they are part of a couple filing jointly that reports a cumulative income of $400,000 or more. That means that some individuals may wind up being hit with the tax hike because they are filing jointly. Whereas if they filed as individuals, they would not be above the specified threshold. I don't understand this. This makes zero sense. It's a significant disadvantage to married couples, Timothy McGrath, managing partner of investment advisory firm Riverpoint Wealth Management, told Fox Business. It's another marriage penalty, and this is nothing new in the tax system. There are all sorts of tax marriage penalties right now. But this is a huge one, and you might say, no, they wouldn't do that. I mean, this administration loves people. They would never harm people like that.
And on that front, just a clarification, last week you said the tax increase threshold for the president is $400,000 a year, both for individuals and households. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep. Individuals and households. Which makes us go to this. Which is in the wrong place. So we're going to move on from there. We've got it covered in just a moment. Oh, yeah, we skipped a thing. Because we have, so individuals and households, why? Because they need to pay for the president's great infrastructure plan that starts tomorrow. Again, moved up. It's supposed to be on Friday, but they want to take the notice off of the attention off of the border. And so they moved it up. And they split it into two parts. Now this thing's supposed to cost now, between the two parts, somewhere around $4 billion. The progressives want more. There's people even saying we need to spend $10 billion on this. But you're going to find out it's not really just infrastructure. All right? As the question comes up today ahead of the announcement tomorrow.
Released tomorrow. Is it going to focus more on shovel-ready projects that could get underway right away, or is it focused more on projects that might take a couple of years to get started but could ultimately have a bigger impact?
It's a great question, and I expect we'll have more to outline on how quickly things can happen once he delivers the speech tomorrow. But let me just say that the speech tomorrow is about making an investment in America. Not just modernizing our roads, our railways, our bridges, but building an infrastructure of the future. So some of it is certainly infrastructure shovel-ready projects. Some of it is how do we expand broadband access. Some of it is ensuring that we are addressing the needs in people's homes and communities. So there are a range of components that he'll talk about when he proposes his ideas tomorrow, when he lays that out in his speech in Pittsburgh.
That sounds a little involved, doesn't it to you? That's I mean, from homes and communities to, you know what it sounds like to me? Now we're at the right place. Sounds like a lot of sounds like a whole lot of money there. I mean, this thing is going to be huge. See, I'm telling you, they're trying to get all their spending done right now, but because that's how they know people will be happy. As long as they can be throwing money at you, they think you're going to be happy. And it's working, but because, you know, people like him a lot better, like the pretend president a whole lot better, since they got their $1,400, or they're going to be getting it, or however that works. How about you? Do you like him better? We don't get $1,400. No, not my wife and I. No, we're on the enemies list. We don't get it. Trust me on that. They don't like us one bit. Now then, the Biden regime never sleeps. They are always working. Biden himself does sleep often because, you know, he needs his rest. As we reported to you way back, the doctors say he needs at least an hour off in the middle of the day after he already started late and he leaves early and everything else because of his condition. Let him go play with the dogs for an hour or whatever. That's what the doctors told him. And yet, things still keep happening. Well, the question has been in the old briefing room for a while, when is he going to start appointing judges? Well, he has. So let's, and all this goes with everything else that will be with a lot of what we'll be bringing you shortly.
Forward. Finally, as many of you saw earlier this morning, the president announced his historic slate of judicial nominees of his administration, the first historic slate, I should say, with 11 candidates overall. This is an unprecedented fast start for any president in the U.S. history on judicial nominations. This is also a groundbreaking slate in many ways. It includes 4 nominees who have served as public defenders, 4 who are members of the AAPI community, a nominee who, if confirmed, would be the first Muslim American federal judge in history. 9 of the 11 nominees are women. And overall, this group represents a paradigm shift in the type of people who can see themselves on the federal bench while still maintaining the president's absolute highest standards for the qualifications, integrity, and fairness of each individual being considered. So lots of news. Go ahead.
So he nominates some judges, which it's his place to do. And it's not about their qualifications. Don't let any of that get you. It's about how they look. It's about who they are. Public defenders. That way that they'll, and there's nothing wrong. There's a lot of things there's nothing wrong with. It's just their whole point is how you look on the outside. See, that's not equality. And I'm, there wasn't any other Asian or Pacific Island people on a federal bench before? Wasn't any women? Sure there were. But everything with this regime is historic. They probably walk around, oh, it's historic. The president woke up today. It's another historic day. I don't know everything they say. This is historic. I mean, the amount of money we're spending, it's historic. Dr. Rachel Levine, well, that is historic. I mean, you got to give them that one. The first openly gay cabinet member, that's historic too. That knows nothing about the workings of the Office of Transportation. That's not historic either. But anyway, we can go on. Everything's historic with these people. Every executive order, everything's historic. Well, the Asian community's not really happy with it still, as we will see from this question.
Asian American question. We just saw the fact sheet that you released earlier, but it does not address the demand from AAPI communities for more representation on leadership levels. What's more concerning, during yesterday's interview, Senator Tammy Duckworth said she's pushing for this representation, and the White House said to her, quote, "You have Kamala, you don't really need any other Asians in the cabinet." And the Duckworth said, quote, "That is really offensive. You wouldn't say we have white male president. There shouldn't be any white male members of cabinet. Why would you say that to someone from the Asian community?" End quote. What is your reaction to her statement?
Well, first, we've had a range of conversations with Senator Duckworth since that call, which happened about a week ago, including a commitment to naming a high-level Asian American member of the AAPI community to a position in the White House. And that's something we're working to do through consultation with a range of officials and elected officials as well. And that person will be a commissioned officer and will be working on both policy and outreach. And as soon as we have a name, we will share that with all of you. But a big part of our effort has also been on taking actions to address the rise in anti-Asian violence and bias, and underscoring the commitment of our entire administration to working in partnership with the AAPI community. The president announced that DOJ has launched an agency-wide initiative to address anti-Asian hate crimes and acts of violence. DOJ is taking steps to strengthen hate crimes data, reporting on AAPI violence, improve law enforcement training so that local law enforcement agencies can better identify anti-Asian bias. In the coming weeks, the administration will meet with AAPI leaders to hear their input and how we can play the most constructive role possible in the community. And the president raised, because he felt it was imperative to elevate the continuing threats, the hate speech, and the violence against the Asian American community in his speech he gave during a primetime address a week ago. Go ahead.
And that's enough with you. You know, she did the little hair thing there. She always does that when she's uncomfortable while she's answering or right after. You can kind of judge when something doesn't seem to sit right with her. You can also tell when she's unhappy with a question because she moves on as quickly as possible. And that would be the same with any press secretary. See, we're reasonable. It's not, we're not like some that pick on everything like it never happened before. Well, what was he talking about? You see, the Biden regime does not understand. They really thought whenever they would raise an issue, everybody would just play along. They didn't think anybody would actually believe them and expect things out of them, especially their own people. But they have angered many of their own people because of what they do. See, when they said, there's 6 Asian women that were killed by the shooter in Atlanta, this is our shot to talk about Asian bias and to get the Asians on our side, because a lot of Asians do not vote Democrat. Okay? And Asians have been, there's a lot of inconsistencies in government toward the Asian population. Did you know you cannot find a lot of statistics on Asians from the government because they just lump them in with us white folk? And the Asians don't like that. They want to be treated separately like every other race in the country. They even, universities lump Asians in with white people in admission standards because Asians get in easier than most other minorities. So that's not fair. They're not dark-skinned enough, so they need to be lumped in with white people. I mean, it's a mess. If you're an Asian you're like not white, you're not brown, you're just kind of there. And they don't count you. And that's not right, but they also shouldn't take advantage of you. Well, Senator Duckworth and others thought, you're doing all this talk. You're using Asians right now is what you're doing. And we want some real recognition. And so the White House wasn't really ready to give it. White House unveils new actions to counter rising anti-Asian violence. This move came after 2 Asian American Democratic senators publicly criticized the Biden administration for its meager representation of Asian Americans in senior positions. Yeah, well, they got Kamala, or however you say her name. I think that's it, Kamala. The White House on Tuesday rolled out a series of executive actions aimed at addressing a spike in anti-Asian American hate incidents and in the aftermath of a shooting in Atlanta that killed 6 Asian American women. I'm surprised they put the American on the end there. So the White House is getting busy, man. They want to show you Asians some love, but it's not real. Among the moves is a reinstatement of the White House initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, which was first established during the Clinton administration with an expanded mandate and an initial focus on anti-Asian violence and violence, including gender-based violence. The Biden administration also vowed to appoint a permanent director of the initiative to coordinate policies across the government. In addition, the White House announced a new $49.5 million grant program for Asian American and Pacific Islander survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault under the Department of Health and Human Services, a COVID-19 equity task force to address xenophobia against Asian Americans, and a Justice Department cross-agency initiative addressing rising hate crimes against Asian Americans. I don't think they have a $49.5 million grant for a lot of other victims of domestic abuse, but that's okay. That's all right. We'll all live, won't we? Yes. President Joe Biden's move comes 1 week after 2 Asian American Democratic senators publicly criticized his White House for its meager representation of Asian Americans in senior position. Senators Tammy Duckworth, Democrat of Illinois, and Mazie Hirono, Democrat of Hawaii, initially vowed to oppose Biden nominees until the White House offered a more significant plan to address Asian American issues, but later said their obstruction would be unnecessary after getting assurances from the White House. They were just told to back off. That's all that was, because they're not really getting anything. They were always going to get the judges, maybe not. Duckworth applauded Biden in a statement for recognizing our community's pain and taking concrete actions to protect AAPI individuals from violence and root out anti-Asian bias, while also supporting the victims of hate crimes. The new Department of Justice initiative would also aim to improve reporting of hate crimes. According to a SurveyMonkey AAPI data survey released Tuesday, 10% of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders had experienced hate crimes or incidents in 2021, compared to a national average of 6% of Americans. So obviously it's up, I guess, but that's not a government statistic because, again, U.S. government usually doesn't track Asians. Okay? The Senate is set to take action next month on a bill from Hirono and Rep. Grace Mean, Democrat of New York, that would appoint a DOJ official to help expedite the review of COVID-related hate crimes and beef up state and local hate crimes reporting. So they would get their own DOJ person. Okay, it's all right. I don't care. The Senate is set to take action next month on a bill from Hirono. And yeah, we already read that. Okay, can we keep? Biden's Tuesday announcement reiterated his call on Congress to pass that bill, though it faces an uphill climb to become law without any Senate Republican support. Why wouldn't it become law? Because there's already plenty of laws on the books to cover this. Not that any of that matters to Democrats, who always need a new law because the first one doesn't do it enough, I guess. Duckworth had dropped her threat to oppose Biden nominees after securing what she described as a commitment for the appointment of a senior White House official focused on Asian American issues. Tuesday's announcement, however, did not include any details on that official's portfolio. So they're trying to create a position for an Asian that'll make everybody happy, and then everything's okay. See, we put a person in an office and say, there, you're represented. I believe that's called token. See, that's not real. That's not, we really value this person. It's like we made a deal, and to get our stuff done, we've got to get their stuff done. Oh, there's been some more of that going on. Let's look at this. Where is this?
So lots of news. Go ahead, kick us off.
Thank you, Jen. I want to start by asking on guns. It has been noted, actually, that 40 years ago today was the attempted assassination of President Reagan. But some gun safety groups have expressed disappointment at the president's sidestep of the issue in his news conference last week. Can you give an update on what is in the works in terms of a timetable for possible executive actions on guns?
Well, first, let me say the president understands their frustration. He is somebody who has fought for gun safety measures since he was in the Senate himself. He did that in his effort to fight for the Brady bill, in his effort to fight for a ban on assault weapons, and in his leadership putting in place almost 24 executive actions on gun safety when he was in the Obama-Biden administration. Right now, we're working on a couple of levers. One is working with Congress. There are 2 background check bills that have moved their way through the House. Many of you may have seen this weekend, Senator Chris Murphy, clearly a leader on these issues, somebody who has been a leader since Newtown and even before, sees a path forward. We've seen an openness by even some Republicans to having a debate and a discussion. We'll take that. While that is moving, while there are discussions on that front, and the president will certainly be engaged in those, we are also continuing to review and consider what the options are for executive actions. We hope to have an update on that soon. I don't have an exact day for you at this point in time.
I'm sorry about that. And you know why she doesn't have anything concrete on that? Because it's unpopular. See, that's her way of saying, this issue's still kind of unpopular. I know it's popular here in the briefing room. I know it's popular with Democrats, but it's not really popular all over the country. And we've got enough things going on that aren't popular. Because if we thought it would have any traction, we'd already had 20 executive orders out on it. You can't trust these people. I mean, they're just, oh, goodness. Where are we? Are we going to the border yet? No, let's do this. Because this shows everything about how they do things. Everything's by reframing an argument based on lies. See, because how do you argue against something that's not even true? You can say, oh, this and that, but they keep saying it and people believe. You notice the pretend president still keeps talking about Russians placing bounties on our troops in Afghanistan, which has been proven. There's no proof to that. It just was, and he keeps saying it. See, that makes it true. Keep saying that President Donald Trump said that there were good people in the KKK and white supremacists that day in North Carolina when there were people just not wanting the statues to be torn down. It wasn't about race or anything. Just why do we have to tear down the statues? And that's been proven because we have everything he said on record, on video, on everything, and yet he keeps saying it. So that's what these people do. Because if you hear the lie enough, and of course there's enough people that they hear it and they don't go any further than that. Oh no, that was said. The president said that. Well, the president is clearly a liar. As the Washington Post, not the Washington Examiner, but the Washington Post points out And they are truly a liberal newspaper. But this was too much for them. Biden earns 4 Pinocchios from Washington Post for false claim about Georgia voting law. He has been talking about this. He has been railing on about it and going on and on. The Washington Post fact checker knocked President Biden on Tuesday for falsely claiming a new Georgia law ends voting hours early, giving him its harshest rating of 4 Pinocchios for spreading misinformation. 4. That's as bad as it gets there. And these people, they kiss the ground this man walks on. So, this is an egregious lie. Biden repeatedly claimed last week a law signed by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican, of course, would make it harder for working class people to vote. That's right. What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick, Biden said. You know why it's sick to him? Because it means he can't cheat. That's how he won Georgia, is cheating. Oh, I know, you can fact check it. And they say, no, he didn't, and this and that. Well, just go back and watch the election night. Come on. Come on, man. What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. Deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work. Well, what else would they be getting off from if they're at work? And if you just hear that, you would think, well, the president's saying that. It must be true. But no, we go on. Biden doubled down the following day in a written statement. Among the outrageous parts of this new state law, it ends voting hours early so working people can't cast their vote after their shift is over. I mean, he just, hey. And if you didn't know and you didn't take time to read the law and do any investigating, you would think, that's horrible. Why would you cut off voting at 5 o'clock when a lot of people are just getting off? Well, Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler wrote Biden's claim could not be substantiated. One could understand a flub in a news conference, but then this same claim popped up in an official presidential statement. Not a single expert we consulted who has studied the law understood why Biden made this claim, as this was the section of law that expanded early voting for many Georgians. Expanded means broadens, makes it larger, more accessible. Yeah, how can that be? Why would you keep lying about that, Mr. President? On Election Day in Georgia, polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and if you are in line by 7 p.m., you are allowed to cast your ballot. Nothing in the new law changes those rules. However, the law did make some changes to early voting, but experts say the net effect was to expand the opportunities to vote for most Georgians, not limit them. Kessler continued, noting some experts feel Biden may have been briefed on an outdated version of the bill. Well, they know what's right and what's wrong. Kessler also wrote Biden may have gotten confused. Well, that's entirely possible, but he does not write these things on his own. He just signs them. I was going to say something not nice, but I held my tongue. Because the new law clarifies that early voting can be, let me get my slides off here and go to the next one. Early voting can be conducted beginning at 9 a.m. and ending at 5 p.m., as opposed to the previous framing that simply noted early voting shall be conducted during normal business hours. So this is early voting, which in most states they shut it off every day about 5 so the poll workers can go home. But as noted, the law also allows individual counties to set the hours anywhere between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., so the practical effect of the 5 p.m. reference in the law is minimal, Kessler wrote. We sought an explanation from the White House for the reason for Biden's remarks. Well, you never get one of those. but did not receive an on-the-record response. Kessler explained why Biden earned the dreaded 4 Pinocchios for his falsehood. Biden framed his complaint in terms of a slap at working people. The law would end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work, or ends voting hours early so working people can't cast their vote after their shift is over. Yeah, that's what he was saying. You know it. You've heard it. So he wrote, many listeners might assume he is talking about voting on Election Day, not early voting. But Election Day hours were not changed. An additional mandatory day of early voting on Saturday was added, and 2 days of early voting on Sunday were codified as an option for counties. So nothing is being limited like they are saying. Not one thing. And he keeps saying it. He keeps saying it. Somehow Biden managed to turn that expansion into a restriction aimed at working people, calling it among the outrageous parts of the law. There is no evidence that this is the case. Brian Flood covers media for Fox News, but he was reporting again. This paper is a liberal paper. They did not want to do this, but this is basically what they're telling the president with the 4 Pinocchios.
But remember, if you lie, the boogeyman will get you, and your nose is gonna grow. So you lie, everyone will know. The boogeyman will get you, your nose is gonna grow.
Blast from the past from Johnny Crawford of the Rifleman, and many of you have no idea who I'm talking about, but the song's true. Got 4 Pinocchios. Remember, if you lie, the boogeyman will get you. We can only hope. We can only hope as we do what? Make a run for the border. As we make a run for the border. What do we have from the border today? Not much, because it's off limits. It's off limits. We have this from yesterday because we ran out of time. So let's hear this.
Hey, Senator James Langford here. It's Friday morning. Was out until very late last night on the border. This is the Donna facility. I met this morning at an early morning breakfast with Border Patrol, then came to the Donna facility where unaccompanied minors and where families are being held here. I understand why the Biden team does not want cameras to be allowed in this location. Some of the pods, and there's multiple pods here, the pods where people are being kept are designed for 80 people. One of the pods I went into had 709 kids in it, 709. They were literally piled in, had no room. They were taking turns laying down on the floor because there's no space for them to be able to be there. None of this was true 3 months ago. Literally, when President Biden came in and announced that he was changing the policy, they showed us the stats and showed how it skyrocketed in February and March. Then for these individuals to be able to come in, and has created this huge crisis. We have a large percentage of folks here that are COVID positive, but they're not tested here for several days. And so they're literally spreading it all around, and then they're released out into HHS custody and into the rest of the country. They've also had, starting last weekend, numbers so high, they literally couldn't process that many that were coming in. So they just started releasing people just straight out into the country that were any families, any individuals that are here without processing basically at all other than getting their name, basic information. There's a reason that President Biden is not wanting the information about this facility and other facilities to be able to get out. There's also a major reason that the smugglers are actually pushing families through right now into this area, because 41% of the drugs that come in the United States between the ports of entry are coming through in this area right here. So literally they're sending families one way in large groups and then pushing drugs another way into the country. This is a massive crisis that's going to be rolling for a very long time in the United States, with the amount of drugs that are going to flow through freely and the amount of criminals that are able to move around while the Border Patrol are distracted these large groups of families, and while half of the Border Patrol for the entire border for this region are all here at this facility processing individuals rather than taking care of security at the border. This is a rolling, growing, accelerating crisis.
And it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, even though the reporters now are shutting it off. See, somebody got to them. Waiting for some real reporters to come back. Let me see if I can find this next one. For some reason, it is not wanting to play, but I think it's very important. This is a clip, if we can get it to work. Let me download it afresh. If we can get it to work, from Women Fighting for America. I think that's correct. Let's see. Are you okay? We'll add you, and let's see if, no, you're not going to play. All right. Anyway, they are corroborating what the senator is saying, and they're actually chasing a group of, well, not chasing, but they find a group of migrants where the cartel had just dropped them off. And they tell people, call the Border Patrol. And so all these agents come from their post, because there's 30 or more people. And so they can't just send one. And then while all the agents are there, the cartel knows where they are, and they start coming across with drugs and people they don't want to be found. So this is becoming something very large, and we have this. I think we've got time for it. And some people really don't like Fox News at all on either side. I don't watch Fox News. This is just a very telling interview, and I thought you'd rather watch it than me read it, since I had to read a couple of things already. This is the mayor of Uvalde, Texas.
Another top story we are following as the Biden administration struggles to address a migrant surge on our southern border. The mayor of Uvalde, Texas, says the situation there has gotten much worse in his community since the last time that we spoke. Mayor Don McLaughlin Jr. joins us now. Mayor, welcome. Thank you for being here, stepping aside from what is obviously a very difficult and challenging situation for your community. What are you seeing there? Since we last spoke, how has the situation changed?
Well, it hadn't changed anything. It's gotten a little worse, if anything else. Just in the last week, starting Thursday, right at 7 o'clock as kids are going to school, we had a pursuit come into town. They bailed out in a residential area, so we had Border Patrol, Sheriff deputies, DPS, and Uvalde Police Department going through the neighborhood looking for these suspects while young kids are getting on buses. Then on Friday, we had 3 pursuits. 2 we were able to stop. The third one jumped out at by one of our local elementary schools. So we had to put the school on lockdown. We were informed that possibly one of the immigrants had a weapon. We never were able to confirm that because we didn't find them. But this is an ongoing deal every day. And everybody talks about the unaccompanied minors. These are not unaccompanied minors that we're dealing with. These are adults that are coming through. A lot of them have criminal records. And to say there's not a crisis here, I think you could go to Del Rio, Eagle Pass, Bracketville, Texas, which is 40 miles west of us. They lead the nation in pursuits, in car pursuits right now. I mean, this is the Wild West down here. And it's just a matter of time before somebody gets shot or somebody gets hurt.
That's just really chilling to hear, Mayor. And you're talking about 3 pursuits a day on some days. I mean, you're tying up law enforcement to engage in that, taking away from potential other emergencies in your town. I mean, what are the residents there saying?
The residents are tired of it just like we are. I mean, we have a large Hispanic community in Uvalde, and we have families that came over, and they came over the right way. And they're frustrated with it. They're tired. They're nervous. They're scared because they don't know what's going to happen. I mean, everybody didn't have to lock their doors at night or in Uvalde and that. Pretty much everybody does nowadays because you don't know what's going to happen or what's going on.
Mayor,
people are fed up with it.
You had a chance to hear President Biden at that news conference last Thursday. He took a lot of questions on the crisis at the border. He was pressed by members of the press. And it seems the solution, he's put Kamala Harris in charge, is to go directly to their home countries, the Northern Triangle, and directly address why these migrants are coming here. To that you say what? Is that going to be effective?
No, it's not going to be effective because the problem is this human smuggling coming across the border now. it's become a bigger trade for the cartels in the drug business. They're trafficking these people. They're charging them to come through their areas to do it. We need to stop them from coming across for a while. We need and shut the borders down in those other countries. But until you address that problem, I mean, these people are paying anywhere from $11,000 to $25,000 to be smuggled across the border. And we just keep turning a blind eye to it and think it's going to go away. And again, I'll go back. What's it going to take? Some family being shot here or some immigrant being shot here because we just keep ignoring it. I mean, our Border Patrol now, they're spending 99% of their time babysitting these unaccompanied minors. And when they cross a family, when a Border Patrol agent encounters a family, say a family of 4, that's 8 hours of paperwork that Border Patrol has to do for that family of 4. How do they do their job if they're doing that?
That is an inside look that so many of us don't get every day. Mayor, we understand, we hear your frustration. These are huge challenges that you face. Thank you for sharing the story with us. We'll check back in with you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we brought you a couple of weeks ago the story of Uvalde. Forgot to set up the video. All the high-speed chases through their town now. They never used to have any. Now, between the drug cartels and illegals in cars, where are they getting the cars? It doesn't make sense, but it's very dangerous there. You know, it's dangerous in big cities, but small towns, if you've never been in a small town, that is not where you want to have a high-speed chase. And so the border is being overrun. People say, why? Why is this happening? Well, because we keep saying,
Angela Fuentes, come on down!
I mean, we just keep asking them in. We're not going to close the border. And see, the Biden regime does not want to close the border. We brought you information yesterday, said that their solution right now, they want to do one big, okay, everybody come that's coming, and then we'll close it maybe. But those over them don't want to do that because they want to keep the supply of cheap labor in. And there was even an article today from somebody saying, you know, migrants don't take work, they create work. You know, that's a lie. They create work for the government and create more people being hired to process them. How do you just come here with nothing and create a job because you need one? No, they take work. And that's been proven over and over again. But see, they're doing what they want. So how come every time they answer, it's just, no, we are opening up facilities. We are getting prepared to handle this. We're beefing up. We didn't expect this, but we're getting ready and making sure we can handle all these people coming. That's their answer because they don't want it stopped. They just want it slowed so they can get a handle on it because they want all these people coming. And they still can't tell us what in the world Ms. Harris is going to be doing to stop it. Well, that's just me. Maybe you have a different take on it. If you do, hey, let me know. Start your own show. Tell everybody what a good job they're doing on immigration efforts, which even the Democrats don't believe. Well, it's time for our inside information time. And we've got a little bit here for you today. The talk in the White House is this: how long can Biden remain? That's why, you know, they're setting up the Biden-Harris name, getting you ready for it. I mean, first one in the room, first one out of the room. Why? Because she's making the decisions, I guess, or does the one care? I don't know. Who can take his place? Harris is thought of less and less as time goes by. She is only a, I have no idea what I wrote. She is only a, she's just there. She's just someone they can use at the time. She's only a delaying tactic. And so I've said this since before the election. If Biden ever gets in, they're using Harris. Harris, if they don't replace her before, she will, their plan, doesn't mean that's what she'll do. Their plan is she will assume the presidency. She will appoint someone as vice president who in her words, is so much more qualified than she is to be president, and then she will resign so that person can come up. That's their plan. How that works, I don't know. Yeah, but she's just a delaying tactic. I don't know. I made up a word, so that's why I couldn't read it. China has sent word that they are ready for the tariffs to be removed, or they will begin sanctions and tariffs of their own that will be quite detrimental to the U.S. economy. And right now, the Biden regime doesn't know what to do with that because, as we brought out yesterday, they're just, everybody up and down the board is amazed that China isn't responding to our doing nothing and talking nice. No, they're taking advantage of it. Iran, yesterday we told you about Iran and China's big new deal. Iran is now pulling back farther from talks and everything, but because of their deal with China, and there was a question on that in the press briefing today. You know, Iran saying, hey, you're saying we're not going to drop the sanctions until you stop enriching uranium and all of that. And Iran saying, well, we're not going to stop you enriching uranium until you drop the sanctions, and then we'll just talk. And so I'm telling you, the Biden regime really thought Iran would come to the table. They thought China would just be glad to work with them. And they're looking and saying, oh, we've got an open door. Just like the immigrants. Yeah, just like the migrants, the illegal aliens. Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel so far, is looking to make a strike to bolster his popularity in Israel. And the regime is working hard to counter everything, but no one is listening because they don't want Iran being attacked. They don't want Israel to do that. They don't want Netanyahu in, yet they can't get Iran to talk. China's causing problems, and there is no one there that knows how to do it. There's also an article today. I guess I should have got that one, but it made a point. It was just something. But Secretary of State Blinken, it's saying what a nice gentleman he is. And overall, the article said, it's just too bad he is there, someone who believes in negotiations and believes in diplomacy, and yet the world doesn't. And that was a nice piece on him. See, we have a Secretary of State, we have a regime that they think it's a different world. I'm telling you, idealists, they think if you just say something, if you just think it, if you just want the world to be a happy place, it will be. If you tell people, you can come, but not now, they'll wait. They think if you tell people, we're here to stop people from hurting Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, and we're going to do all we can for you. They think that should be enough. They don't think that people will say, how come you don't have an Asian or a Pacific Islander in the top cabinet level position or in an important position in the White House? Why not? See, they're not expecting this because they think good thoughts. They think happy things. They say things like, oh, they're taking away early voting in Georgia to restrict and to keep people of color from voting. And they say that, and everybody's supposed to believe them. Nobody's supposed to fact check them because they're the happy people. They're the people that only think good things. They're the people who only want to help the world. Like to buy the world a Coke. You know? They mean well. So why would anybody ever be against them or hold them accountable for what they do? Well, the rest of the world doesn't play like that. Our media might, for the most part, and a lot of people in the country may play that way. But China doesn't. Iran doesn't. Maybe Western Europe sometimes. Speaking of the hopeful pretend president, Joe is trying out new meds again, a new mixture that will last longer, so he won't have those. They've been working on this since the press conference when he'd just blank out. Remember reading about North Korea? Like, North Korea, I've heard of them. I know, I think I've dealt with this before, but I'm not even sure what's going on now. I mean, I've never seen a man so lost when they're reading. It's like, huh? North Korea? What's the problem with North Korea? So that he won't fade in and out. They are all embarrassed over his performance at the press conference. I told you the next day he was so embarrassed. Everybody's saying, "Oh, you did good, champ." And he's like, "No, there's times up there I didn't know what the heck I was doing. If I didn't have things written down, I wouldn't even know what to say." Well, that's why we send it out there with you, Mr. President. If that had been Trump, if that had been any... And all they're talking about, with all they're going on, and yeah, they're going to be bringing up this big new infrastructure project. I really want to do some research on the Obama infrastructure project because, as I've told you before, every administration says we're going to fix the infrastructure. Nobody has. Nobody has, and Biden was over that. And so we're going to look into that and do some comparison, hopefully at some point this week. But we'll see what he has to offer tomorrow. I bet it's expensive. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. God bless America. Pray for America. Oh, pray for America. I mean, this is just the surface stuff, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much more. We just don't have the time to bring it to you every day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.